So here we'll see the next two laws. So let's begin with aesthetic usability effect. So what is aesthetic usability effect? So let's imagine you have two toys that do the same thing. Okay, one is beautifully colored, smooth, and it looks amazing. On the other hand, we have the other toy which is plain and a bit rough. So in that case, which one would you think works better? Respond to these things. Let's make it engaging. So usually when we have two toys, one is beautifully colored and the other one is plain. Which one will you think works better? Obviously, you guys would choose the beautiful toy, right? So this is exactly what aesthetic usability effect is all about. We'll just pick the one that looks beautiful, thinking it will work well. So that is the actual ideation or the thought process of a common human. So here the key takeaways: an aesthetically pleasing design creates a positive response in people's brains and leads them to believe the design actually works better. So people tend to believe that something that looks good will work better. A pretty design can make users more forgiving of small usability issues. So there could be some usability issues, like it could not be user friendly design as we think. But just because the screen is pretty and it is more aesthetically good, it's looking good, the colors are good. So the typography, like the fonts and the images, are of high quality. That will make us, like, that will convince us even though there could be certain usability issues. So visually appealing interface can actually improve how users experience a product. Here the science behind it is, this effect comes from how our brains process information quickly. We make split second judgments based on appearance, and in just 50 milliseconds, like 50 milliseconds in the sense that's faster than a blink. So users form an opinion about a design in just 50 milliseconds, just by looking at that design all at once in single glance itself. They'll come to a they'll form an opinion about that design, how it looks, it's good or bad. They just arrive at a opinion, like they think about how that design looks. So we'll in this chapter we'll look how our brains interpret the information based on the attractiveness of the app, and because of the pretty screens, what kind of opinions do we have, and how is that affecting the usability of the actual app. How is the pretty screens equal or not equal to the usability? Okay, where did this idea come from? So here the story begins in 1995 with two researchers, Hitachi and Masaki. You know, these two people are the researchers who have begun this story in 1995. So they did a fascinating experiment with ATM interfaces. They tested 26 different ATM screen layouts. Okay, in that 252 people rated these layouts for both looks and usabilities. So, to their surprise, what happened? People rated more attractive interfaces as more usable even when the functionality was exactly the same. So they were actually looking for only the attractiveness in pretty screens rather than the usability. So that was the result that they found out of this experiment which these two researchers conducted. So here, the famous designer Dieter Rams created products that were both functional and beautiful. And his philosophy was less but better. He has designed only something that would be functionally good as well as it will be beautiful. So he showed that great design can make technology feel more approachable and enjoyable. So he focused on both of these things. And the other example is Apple. So Apple products, that is in pure example of for the master of aesthetic design. So when it comes to aesthetic design, it is always Apple. Apple products look beautiful and they also work smoothly. And regarding their designs, what do people feel actually? Their designs make people feel good about using the product, and users are also more patient with minor glitches because the design is so pleasing. So here what do we need to consider is that aesthetic usability effect is actually powerful, but it's not like a magic wand. So we should not depend only on looks. Actual usability is also important and it's also crucial. And beautiful design should enhance and it should not hide the functionality. So we should focus both on both on attractiveness of the app, like the UI design, as well as the functionality, which is UX part. So here, even though we are considering both, the weightage that we are giving to the UI design should be higher than the usability, but that does not mean there should be no functionality. It should also have the functionality. So how can we apply this in our designs? We can focus on clean and intuitive designs. We can make use of white space effectively, and we can also create a harmonious color palette. Like we should not make use of too many colors, and we should make sure visual elements have a clear purpose. Why are we giving certain color for certain buttons? That should have an actual purpose, and it should also balance the beauty and functionality. Beauty in the sense how it's going to be the user interface, how it's going to be, and if it's going to be pretty screen, that doesn't mean it should have a complex feel for the users to navigate. Simplicity is the key. Like we need to design it as simple as possible so that even a simple user, like general audience, should be able to navigate within the app without getting lost somewhere. So that's why we've also discussed the previous laws, like the user should have the navigation breadcrumbs in order to understand where they are in the product, and every design element should serve a purpose. So we should consider the user's emotion while we are creating the design, while we are while we are designing an user interface. We need to consider how the users would feel while they are going through this user flow, and that is why we are also working on the empathy mapping, like how the user would go through each and every phase in their design journey. So users should have a positive and happy experience. We should make use of color, typography, layout in order to evoke positive feelings in the users. And some of the tips that you can take from this law is that you don't need to be a master artist, like you can just start simple. It's not necessary that you need to work on the complex UI part, and you have to study the successful designs, like look at the competitors or the apps that you love, see how they have designed, what colors have they used, what kind of typography fonts they have used, are they using it consistently, like it's consistent in each and every page. Look for these things, and also ask users how they feel about your design, not just how it works. And we'll also have to iterate it a lot. Like a great design comes only in the process of a continuous improvement. Only when we are refining the designed screens again and again, we'll be able to create a good UI and a good functionality kind of app that will help us bring in the usability issues, like what are the issues which the users are facing, and we can work on improving that. So let's conclude this law. So we have to remember, as a UX UI designer, our job is to create experiences that are both beautiful and functional. Here the aesthetic usability effect teaches us that these two goals, one is the attractiveness of the app, and the other one is functionality. These two goals hand in hand. So a great design should be a feast for the eyes and the joy to use. And always we need to aim to make our users happy and not just make it usable for them. Okay, we should aim at both of these goals. This is about the aesthetic usability effect, the first law that we are discussing today. And the second law that we'll be discussing today is Von Restorff effect. So the meaning of this is we need to make the things stand out in the design that we are creating. So let's first understand what does this effect mean. So I'll just share an example again. For this, let's imagine you are looking at a bunch of white sheep. Okay, a bunch of white sheep is going, and suddenly you see one sheep is bright pink. Then what catches your eye immediately? Obviously the pink sheep, of course. So this is exactly what Von Restorff effect is all about. So when something is different, it will actually become memorable and it stands out. So here the key takeaway is make important information or key actions visually distinctive. So when multiple similar things are present, the one that is actually different is most likely to be remembered by all the users. That's the key takeaway in one sentence, if I could say. And the science behind it, let's understand the origin story. The Von Restorff effect is named after Hedwig von Restorff, a German psychiatrist who discovered something fascinating in 1933. So what she did was she found out that people remember items that are actually unique, different from others. So she found out that the things that are actually different will be remembered by the people. So in her original study, people were given a list of similar items. The items were unique or stood out, were remembered much better. So our brains have evolved to be incredibly good at spotting differences. So once we find something different, then we'll actually remember it even more better than the things that are actually the same. And our brain works when we recognize patterns, when we identify unique elements. So this was important when it comes to the survival. So let's see the examples as well. So if you see the pricing tables, uh, if you see the pricing tables, you have to look for how the companies highlight their recommended or most popular plan. I'll show an example. Usually it will be like this. In the pricing plan, most of the companies will highlight their recommended plan or most popular plan, most picked. So this one is highlighted either in a different color or a slightly larger size, or it could even have additional most picked badge. It will be also placed in a prominent position. So this is one example in pricing table. Even if you see here, again this one is in a highlighted way, like it's highlighted as most popular. So we need to make important buttons stand out. We need to use contrasting colors, slightly different shape or size, and we need to position it strategically. So when it comes to the design principles is that we need to remember, then we need to use the contrast color wisely. We should not overdo it, like we should use the contrast color intentionally, and having too many different elements can cancel out the effect. Like we have seen, most popular plan could be applied to only one plan. It can't be applied to two or three plans. Then this law cannot be effective in that case. And we should consider the accessibility, like we need to ensure if the contrast works for people with color vision deficiencies, like if they are going to be color blindness, then will it be applicable for them. So we should not rely only on color, we should even consider the shape, size, and even the position. These things should also be considered in addition to the color. So while we are designing, we should design and make sure the people uh, with accessibility issues are also are able to use the app, if they are also able to get the concept understandable. So we should also be subtle, like subtle differences can be more effective than dramatic differences that we are trying to showcase. And the goal is to guide attention and not to overwhelm the user. So what we need to avoid in this law is that too much of emphasis, like too much importance to certain elements. Like if everything stands out, then we can't get the attention by the people. So moderation is key, and we need to use contrast sparingly. Only in certain cases we'll have to look for emphasis and the importance. And it is mistaken for ads, which means we need to be careful that the highlighted element doesn't look like an advertisement, or users might unconsciously ignore it if it looks like an advertisement. The psychological concepts that we need to understand in this is, uh, our brains filter out irrelevant information, so we'll focus only on what seems most important for them. So here Von Restorff effect helps guide this focus, like focusing on what is important and what is not important. Banner blindness, uh, which we have just seen, is related to banner blindness. Users often ignore elements that look like advertisements, and designs uh, design your standout elements to look helpful, not intrusive. So we need to design the elements that will be helpful and are not being intrusive. So look at this example. For a delete account, for delete account dialog box, we are showing two examples. In this, if we are giving the icon, and then we are empathizing, emphasizing the delete button, then this is what the users will draw attention to. They will not wrongly select something that is given less importance. So we need to use multiple techniques like color, size, shape, position, and we can also do the A/B testing for the designs that we make. Like, we need to see what truly catches the user's attention, and we need to measure engagement and conversion. So once we think like a user, uh, like, we can understand if it feels helpful or it feels frustrating, and we can also think on the lines whether this element naturally draw our eye attention. So this is an example of a floating action button from mail or Google Calendar. Here this also gives more importance, so the user can quickly make the action which they are trying to do. And this is the other example that we discussed, which is a pricing table, in which best value is added over here, giving the importance to this by using the color emphasis, and it's also a bit larger, and the position of the card is in the center of the display. And again here in the SMS we have two notifications. So this kind of highlight will ensure that the people are able to understand that there is something which we need to take action. It's grabbing our attention, so the reader's attention will be drawn to this information. So even if we see the news websites, often they use the featured headlines. The headlines will be in the bolder font, and the title will be the size of the title will be bigger. Usually that's how the titles will appear to be. So why that is happening is because that is the first thing which the user attention will be grabbed to, and usually the users will scan through the news. So that's why it's given more emphasis. So here let's conclude one Restorff uh, effect. It is a powerful tool in UX UI design. So it's about creating visual hierarchy and guiding user attention. So we should also remember that different doesn't mean it's going to be complicated. Sometimes a tiny twist is all we need to make in order to make something rememberable. So we need to make the important things impossible to miss but easy to understand. Let's work on an activity for this. So here, this is a memory challenge activity based on the last one Restorff effect that we discussed. So look at this grid carefully for 10 seconds. Try to remember as many items as you can. And after 10 seconds, you will be asked to recall what you saw after the grid disappears. Okay, let's start now. Please focus on this. It will disappear in 10 seconds. Then you have to recollect what you have seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So students, please share your memories, like what you understood, like what you just saw, what you could remember from the grid that you just saw for 10 seconds. Please respond to it. Okay. Others? Yes. Yes. So what you just experienced is called the Von Restorff effect. It's a fundamental principle in cognitive psychology and design. So since our brain is wired to notice differences, spotting something unique could mean finding like detecting something important and identifying a critical survival signal. So here this translates to difference creates memory. So that's what we actually have seen. And let's translate this to UX UI design. This is where the Von Restorff effect becomes your superpower. Okay, so here let's break down the cognitive processing. We are thinking fast, intuitive, automatic, and the memory encoding is something different, gives more memorable, like it is more memorable for us to remember that is something different, and it will also capture immediate attention. And what we have to do when it comes to design, so by doing this activity, what we have to take what we have to take away is that we need to make the primary action stand out. Like you are creating a dialog box, delete account, same like what we have seen in that. Why is the delete button highlighted? Because that is the action which the user is intended to take. So the action which the user has to take, that should be highlighted. The primary action should stand out. Even when it comes to submitting a form in order to create an account, the submit button should be highlighted in the primary color. Why is that done? Because the user will immediately take that action, because it captures the user's attention. We can make use of strategic color, or the shape can be varied, and it will also guide user attention subtly without overwhelming the user. And for the pricing pages also, we need to highlight recommended plan. We need to make it subtle, but also we need to make use of unique visual cues. So we should create gentle user guidance. We should guide the users in a gentle way. It should not overwhelm the user. We should not push the users or pressure the users through make that decision. என்ன டெசிஷன் அவங்க எடுக்கணும்னு நம்ம நினைக்கிறோமோ அதை வந்து சட்டிலாக தான் அவங்கள புஷ் பண்ணணும். லைக் we can make the critical warnings visually distinct. எரர் மெசேஜ்னால் அது வந்து பாஸ்வேர்ட் எரர்னு we are showing that message, right? அதுவுமே வந்து ரெட் கலரில் we'll be showing it in a subtle way, like the size will be smaller. ஸோ அந்த கலரும் டைப்போகிராஃபியும் வந்து ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிக்காக we need to place, and we need to ensure immediate user comprehension. லைக் யூசர்ஸ்க்கு வந்து ஈஸியாக புரியணும். what we are trying to make, the user should be able to understand. So think upon these questions, like reflection questions. Where have you seen this effect in the apps or websites that you have seen, like which you have used? And if there is something in the design, a unique element which has guided your action, if there is something that you can think upon, think on these two questions, okay, and come up for the next class. We'll discuss on these two questions. I'll just type. So tomorrow we won't be having the class, since I've taken it by today itself. We'll connect by day after tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Till then, work on the case study. Let me also get an update. In what stage are you guys in the case study? Do you have any doubts in that? Good progress, Pritika. Vinod, what about you? Yes, obviously we can compare the apps that are already existing in the market. That's how we usually work on the competitor analysis. You will have to take the apps that are existing in the market. Only then you can work on the competitor analysis. You can get the real user feedback on that application, as a user, you yourself. You can experience that user journey, user flow, and then see how it's working for you. If there are any UX errors, or based on the laws we have discussed till now, right? Based on that, if there are any flaws that you find, or anything that you find that is actually working good, based on these things, just compare and work on the existing apps that is in the market. For your app, it's not existing in the market. You are just going to work on the design, right? So have the existing apps that are already in the market, come give the what works and what doesn't work in those applications. For your app you need not give. Yes, in the next class you can present the till what you have worked on. We can just discuss. We can all together discuss, and also if there are any feedback, you can incorporate those feedback changes in your case study, like in the project that you have been doing till now. Okay. Okay, guys. Then thank you. We'll see you on Wednesday.